Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am going to welcome you by asking you to answer a couple of questions, literally two, um, in a little poll. Okay, hopefully, there you go. We have a poll. If you guys can quickly tell me a little bit about who you are, we'll give everyone a minute. Oh, the good news is I can see who's answering. So thank you. In the meantime, thank you for joining. I'm Ted Murguia. I am a college counselor at ESM. I've been here since 2017. So 8 years of helping students on their college adventure. And we have one more person to participate. It's all parents today and everybody with ninth graders. Huh, imagine that. The title makes sense. All right, we'll give it another 10 seconds and then we'll end the poll and get started. And we're done with the poll. Oh, and right, so let's get rid of that. Whoops, share some screen here. Share, oh wait, let's share without my face. There we go. Okay. Um, so welcome. Today the goal is to talk a little bit about why why should freshmen start thinking about college since they're just getting to high school, but that really is presents several opportunities that I think are just easy choices to make. There's not a lot of deep thinking or gross involvement with what am I going to do to college, but it is an opportunity. I personally like to start. I have two freshmen this year, and we don't meet a lot, but we meet enough just so we have a plan and we have some sort of path that we're following that will eventually lead up to a strong college application, but mostly lead to really enjoying high school and getting a lot out of it. So it's a journey, and we'll treat it as a journey. And we're three pillars that we have for success as a freshman. And what that really means is that it sets you up for a great 3 more years of high school. So first is academics. That's easy. We're going to delve into that a little bit more deeply in a minute, but that's something that most students are already aware of. Get good grades, study hard, do well on your tests, and so on. So that one's easy. Activities is something that may be new, probably not sports. Most students have been doing some sort of sport up to now, but is really this is an opportunity to start exploring other activities, and we'll talk a little bit about what kinds of activities will really make an application stand out. And then lastly is one that I really appreciate my children's high school because they actually started teaching healthy habits in sixth grade. The first 2 weeks of English, for example, were all about time management. And that's something that I still find students, even I get juniors now that still need help with that. So let's dig into each one of these. Uh, Academics, why academics matter. So first, I want to dispel, it's not a myth, it's true, but it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Um, the the UC system in California uh, calculates the GPA for the students that are applying without including ninth grade. They will look at the courses in ninth grade, but the GPA is based on just 10th and 11th grade. So that leads a lot of students to say, oh, I'm just applying to the UCs, freshman year doesn't matter. It does. It absolutely does. First of all, it matters for every other college. Um, but second, it really is an opportunity to start learning new things that you're going to build on for the rest of college. So having change, there's a mindset change between middle school and high school about what you're doing. You're not just going for the grade. You need to start really learning some stuff. And learning to apply it in different ways, and that's challenging. But if you get good at it, then the rest of high school will be just a fun learning experience. This is also freshman year is the first time that some of the students have the chance to take courses that are not just the basic middle school schools where you're taking English, math, history, and it's over, right? Um, so this is also an opportunity to start engaging in different subjects and try to think about what is it that's interesting to me, right? Because up to now it's just you do what you're told and you do the same thing every day. And now it's an opportunity to start exploring other areas. Um, it's going to be challenging for most students. So the trick is, how do you set yourself up so that you can be successful and the rest of high school feels like a successful run, not a painful fight through it. So one of the most important things to do is to define the goal. What is success going to look like? And for some students, it's going to be straight A's, and that's tough. Um, but ideally, there are much more specific goals, and they are more involved in learning, developing relationships with teachers and mentors. Um, and so define success as more than the grade. Define success as what you're learning, how you're developing those relationships, and what they look like. Part of that is to seek help early. I tell this to every single one of my students. Get tutoring early in a class if you feel even a little bit lost. And tutoring doesn't mean you hire a $400 an hour tutor. It means ask your friends, go to office hours, ask questions in class when it's not clear. Chances are, if you have the question, then other students have the same question too. And it's hard as a freshman because you're a freshman and you just got there and you're figuring stuff out. And for most students, the journey all the way through middle school has been very um, self-focused, right? So I have to study more. I have to understand this better. And there's a lot less seeking help. High school brings on new challenges in that. And so the goal is get help early. The best outcome is that you go to one or two sessions with whoever it is that's helping you, and then you say, "Oh, I got this. Never mind. I don't have to meet with you anymore." Right? That is an awesome outcome. There are many classes, particularly math and the sciences, where if you get lost early, catching up is really, really difficult. And I'd rather have a student try a tutor and say, "No, I'm fine," than have a student beg for a tutor 2 weeks before the final and say, "I'm lost. I don't know what I'm talking about." So that takes courage, takes a support system, and you as parents can help and encourage that. Um, Same thing with my kids' high school. I love the head of school whenever she got a call with a parent on an issue she knew nothing about. She would say, "Well, what did the student say when the student talked to the teacher?" And sometimes the answer is, "Well, the student hasn't talked to the teacher." It's like, go do that and then call me back if that doesn't go well. Right? But it's like we can be the support system for our kids to say, go advocate for yourself. Go figure this out. And if you run into too many barriers, of course I'm going to step in and help. But for the most part, this is a skill they need to learn on their own. So connecting the third point there, building that support system, connecting with peers. It's okay to ask other students for help, teachers, mentors, and sometimes that's you as parents, uh, in terms of helping them understand material. By the time my kids got to high school, they were doing stuff that I didn't even vaguely remember. So it was never me. But I do have several families where one of the parents actually really enjoys being a tutor, and it builds a bond there. So this is new, right? Needing to build an academic support system is something that most students have not faced before, and often they don't know that they should or that they can even, right? A lot of times the attitude is, I've done this on my own all the way through eighth grade. Why should I start in ninth grade and start asking for help all of a sudden? So encourage them to do that. Then we move on to activities. Um, So activities, especially for selective colleges, activities are often what makes a big difference. I saw a presentation by the Dean of Admissions at Duke. He said they get 44,000 applications, of which 40,000 of the students are academically qualified to succeed at Duke in a very rigorous, challenging curriculum. And so that's 40,000 students. They're only going to take, how many do they take? They about 4,000, if I remember correctly. So it's um, it's the activities that will help make differentiate between all the academically successful students. And the thing is that as a freshman, you get to try things. And if you don't like it, if the you try some new activity, you're trying doing some new community service and you don't like it, it's fine. Drop it and try something else. But what we want to make sure is we start trying to do things. Ideally, something interesting happened last summer already, but if not, that's okay. We got 3 more summers where we can have some really interesting activities. And of course, during the school year, activities both in school and outside of school. And you're finding for what do you care about? Um, one of the very important qualifications for and that distinguish college applicants are their level of maturity. The vast majority of high school students in America are very self-centered. So when you can choose activities that show that you have matured beyond just caring for yourself and that you're actually caring for some sort of community in some way where you're trying to make it better, is a great asset. And starting as a freshman is a way to practice that early and get good at it so that by the time we're filling out college applications, this is actually um, a very well-developed skill. So try new things, discover new talents, and it's okay if you don't like it, try something else. Um, in doing that, you will find others that have common interests, and that's how you build friends, right? And some of these will last a lifetime. Um, from a college application perspective, what you want to be able to do in these, and not immediately, but you're building toward it, is build some leadership skills, right? As a freshman, you'll join some organization and you're just going to look at the leaders and observe behavior and see what works, what doesn't work, and what your leadership style is going to be. You can absolutely start working on teamwork. This is a skill that I often find, particularly uh, gifted students or just students that are usually, around in most groups, they're the smartest kid in the group. When it comes to doing team projects, sometimes often their version of leadership is if one of the members of the team is not doing the work, not pulling their weight, then I'll just take over and do their work for them. And that's not a successful life strategy. And practicing how to motivate peers, there's no leverage there. There's if somebody doesn't care about the grade and they go working on the project, it's like, how do you get there? Sometimes you'll be successful and sometimes you won't. But definitely avoid trying to do everybody else's job just for the grade. Um, so leadership, teamwork, very important. Time management we'll get to in a minute, but that's super, super important. Okay, so the last one is healthy habits. Um, for the most part, through middle school, students just remember, right? What's your assignment today? When is it due? Because it's usually, I told you today, it's due tomorrow, um, and it's fairly easy to keep track of. In high school, that changes a little bit, admittedly gently. So there aren't a lot of long-term projects freshman year usually. But it's subtle and it doesn't feel like it requires change in the beginning. But right now, that's a conversation I'm having with my freshmen. Said, how do you, for example, I have sessions with them. They're not they're not weekly. They're not like, okay, every day at Tuesday at 5 p.m. we're going to meet. It's depends on what we're doing. We set a meeting, and usually we set it a week or two, or sometimes even a month in advance. So one of my first questions early on to my students is, okay, how did you remember we had this meeting? Uh, and often it's just, oh, I didn't remember. My mom told me. Um, Sometimes there's a family calendar, and that helps because this meeting makes it onto the family calendar. But there's no sort of that ownership of time because up to now, pretty much someone has told your students what to do every minute of every day. And now it's the little bit more leeway to say, okay, when am I going to do what work or what activity? You can really help if you do have some sort of family calendar. The surprises I get often come from the parents because the parents, you're doing all the things that we need to do for our kids. Send, take them to the dentist, take them to the doctor, set up their appointments. And in a sense, we're their time manager. Um, and so it's good if you figure out a way with your students to transfer that time management responsibility to the student. Now, you need to contribute to that by letting them know, hey, put in your calendar, you're going to the dentist on Friday at 2. I'm going to take you out of school early. Or whatever it is that you do for them, give them the information and let them incorporate it into their time management routine, whatever that is. I have two things that keep me organized. It's my email queue and my calendar. If it's on the calendar, it's going to happen. If it doesn't make it on the calendar, chances are kind of low that I'll remember because what I do, as soon as I put something on my calendar, I forget about it. And first thing I do every morning is look at the calendar and figure out, okay, what am I going to do today? This will help the students also with um, the long-term projects, which right now they'll get one and they'll remember it. The trick is how do we help them time manage now that it's going to be relatively straightforward, so that they have the skills. And next year, when it gets more complicated, and certainly junior year is very challenging from a time management perspective, they already have that skill there. So that's really important, often good to do as a family. It's like, how are we going to do this? And have an active conversation about your time is yours. I will let you know when I have to schedule something for you, but figure out how you're going to manage that. Self-care. Again, this comes uh, slowly. The demands on time are slow. Uh, Freshman year is usually pretty good, but sophomore and junior years get really tough. And what happened in my family is that my both of my girls started giving up sleep. So that I was trying to be a good example. I went to bed at 9 every day that they were in high school. Few times did they go to bed at the same time. And eventually, junior year, they were staying up till midnight or 1. And that's not good for learning. It's not good for their health. And the it's just tough. There's just so many demands on time. So figuring out how to say, okay, this is my bedtime, kind of no matter what, this is when I'm going to go to bed so I can have a good night's sleep every night. And I'm going to manage the rest of my time so that I can have that sleep. Eating well, exercising regularly, that also often comes through sports, but if it's not going to go through sports at school, then figure out something else. The, that's incredibly important to maintain that physical activity. And sometimes that's what gives, especially if it's not an organized sport, if your students are just runners, and they don't want to run it at high school, then what happens? Like, okay, I won't work out today because I have too much homework. Um, but so figuring out how to manage the rest of the time so that you can get enough sleep is important. Um, okay, and then nurturing relationships. This is related back to academic, but it really happens around everything, right? And high school can definitely be a time of drama. So having a way to escape that drama at home would be great. Um, Certainly building a network of friends that are going to be supportive when drama comes is important. This is a surprise to some students, not all. But the sort of those dynamics that come in high school are kind of like, what? Why is that happening? And if you're not sort of prepared and you have a team with you that can help you deal with it, it can be very, very tough. And all this goes to managing stress, right? Find healthy coping strategies, super, super important. Uh, and find whatever way it is that lets the student manage stress. It will absolutely be there. There's no question. And this is what therapy does for us, right? We should all have a therapist, so we all have some tools we always go to say, okay, things are difficult. How do I deal with it? Mine is whenever I have something that's really overwhelming, um, what I do is I start cleaning. And I do that not because I want to have active hands, but because as I clean things and everything else in my office, my bedroom, my kitchen, is in order and clean and orderly, it just feels like the rest of my life is calm. And so then this one thing that's shaking me up, I can deal with. If I see chaos all around me all the time, that gets very unsettling for me. So that works for me. Uh, but finding those moments also to just think uh, about stuff can be is very challenging for high school students now. So the thought of being without your phone for an hour walking alone in the park, traumatizing. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but not a happy thing. I go on a walk every morning. I get up, I just put on last night's clothes because they're just going to get dirty. And I go for a walk for an hour. I have my phone with me, but I don't have it out. It's just me thinking about what my day's going to be like, or it's just observing. I happen to live by the beach, so it's really fun to go out and just look for dolphins in the ocean and see what kinds of birds are around and watch the waves. Today they were amazing. And it's just let your mind wander for a while. That can be a very good stress managing. Whereas scrolling through my phone is never ever peaceful. There's always something in there. So having those kinds of strategies to manage stress are something that they're not going to think of right now. Um, but if you can bring it up and you can say, okay, how do we deal with this? Um, and it can be very, very helpful. Okay, so part of what happens is just much more pragmatic stuff is let's start building a successful high school career by setting objectives. And that means academic objectives, certainly tests when the tests come up, and then activities both in and out of school. So, um, course selection is pretty straightforward. As far as colleges are concerned, they simply ask the question, did the student challenge themselves given the academic curriculum available to them? So if you want students to apply to the highly, highly selective colleges, basically take the toughest courses you can all the way through. Sometimes that is too much. There are some schools where you could take 6 AP courses senior year or junior year. I would say for almost all students, that is way too much. As a result, a lot of schools actually limit it. They won't. I have many students where freshmen can't take any advanced courses. They might be able to take, or AP courses. They might jump into honors courses, particularly if they're good at math. Usually they get to move around there. Um, but if you're not going to try to build a resume to go to Harvard, then pick stuff that's interesting or that you think that your students are going to think are interesting. It might turn out not well, but but that's good information too. It's like that's a good way to find out what is it academically that interests you. And then just balance the difficulty, right? Find your spot. If you're going for Harvard, it's got to be up here. For all the rest of us, it's somewhere in the middle and find some set of goals that let you say, okay, I made it. That's a good thing, even though maybe I didn't get all A's, right? It's still success. Um, Summers are a huge opportunity to strengthen college applications. Uh, Stanford asks in their essay prompts, they say, "What did you do the last 2 summers?" And if the answer is, "Well, I played video games and hung out," that's probably not a very strong application. So it is an opportunity to explore things that are not school. And now they can be academic. There are many, many excellent summer courses that explore subjects that are not available in any high school. So that can be fun. I had one student that just came back from a neuroscience course this last summer. I'm like, wow, okay, that's a lot. Um, so you can do academic, and generally we say for summers, do 3 buckets. Do something academic, do something service oriented, and do something fun. So you still get to have fun during the summer. It's just not a mindless summer, which I found boring as a kid. So explore job internships. Uh, a lot of the issues with ninth graders, certainly next summer, is that they're not old enough. So it's challenging this first year, and maybe this is the year to just do volunteer work. Again, that also comes with some age restrictions at certain places. But if you look, you can. Generally, I give a framework to my students of for volunteer work of you can help either uh, pe disadvantaged people, um, you can help animals, or you can help the earth. Um, I combine the last two. My really fun things to do. I volunteer at the Pacific Marine Mammal Center here in Orange County, and I get to take care of sea lions and elephant seals, and it is incredibly fun for me. And the bigger umbrella under what I'm thinking is I'm interested in ocean conservancy. So I do a lot of things focused on that volunteer job and educating others about that. So I actually do a lot of outreach with grammar school kids. In fact, tomorrow I get to do that. Um, and if you ask me, my passion, if you will, is ocean conservancy. And it manifests itself that once a week I go help with animal care. Once a week, a different day of the week, I go help with veterinary care. So essentially a vet assistant. And then whenever I can, I'll join a program at a grammar school, usually where we're talking about, in this case, tomorrow is about whales. So that's what I do. That's why I'm a volunteer. So find something like that in any one of those categories, right? For animals are easy. There's always animal shelter that will have cats and dogs that they need help. They always need help. Um, so that's an easy thing to do to start and then see where that goes. And the idea is find some sort of volunteer work that you like to do and then just expand it every year, make it better. Um, as a freshman, test taking is going to come up. Uh, some of your children may have taken some standardized tests already. Um, I No one's going to take the PSAT as a freshman. Most schools will have an opportunity to take the PSAT as a sophomore, but it is literally just to practice taking a standardized test like that. It doesn't count in the sense that nobody's ever going to ask what that score was, or maybe your test prep tutor to see where we're starting from, but certainly no college cares. And then that PSAT is also a qualifying test for the National Merit Scholarship Program. But it's only you're only qualified for that if you take the PSAT your junior year. Whatever happened sophomore year does not count toward the National Merit qualification. So um, I would say don't worry about it freshman year. And not a bad idea if your school is going to allow you to take it. It's usually it's always in October of sophomore year. Then I would prepare a little bit, take a couple practice tests, just see what it's like. On the off chance you're going to do and try hard. Um, the trick with trying hard is that you need to know it's coming. So I'm telling you right now, it's coming. Often schools will just surprise the students. They'll say, okay, all 10th graders and or all 10th graders and 11th graders today, you're not going to classes, you're taking this test, and then you can go home. Um, So, so it doesn't really lend itself to preparation, but I'm telling you now, it's in October. Doing a little prep is good. Very little though. Um, if the test goes incredibly well, and by incredibly well, I'm talking scoring in the mid to high 1400s. The PSAT is out of 1520 points. So if you score mid to high 1400s, then next year it's going to be worth prepping for trying to score 1500. Because then chances are you will qualify for the National Merit Scholarship. The way they do it is by state, and the top 1% of test takers by state are qualified. If you're here in California, it's one of the toughest states to qualify for. Massachusetts, another one, super, super tough. So that's it. This is what you should do. Prioritize the academics. That's always true. But go to activities and start exploring things and figure out what it is that you want to do. And do all this in a good time management envelope that lets you just maintain work-life balance. Okay. So there's my contact info, and I'm going to put my glasses on. Does anybody have any questions? And I'm opening, if you can, just put them in the Q&A and I can answer them. And if not, I'm going to do one more little poll, launching poll. 3 questions on this one. And stop sharing. There we go. All right. Well, if no open questions, I will just leave you. By all means, write to me or call me or text me if you have any other questions. Um, other than that, if you can just respond to the poll and thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. We do have one question. What do you think about college classes on campus for 2 weeks? Um, I'm not sure I understand the question. So there are you talking about the 2 week um, sort of summer things where you go study some specific subject for a couple weeks on a college campus? If so, those are really good ways to explore esoteric kinds of uh, subjects. This neuroscience course I was talking about was one of those. I think his was 3 weeks. I had a pre-med student that did a course at Brown that was 3 weeks, which was essentially medical rotation. They basically rotated through 6 different departments. Um, and that was fascinating for her and as a pre-med, she just learned a lot. A lot of entrepreneurship courses over the summer are 2 or 3 weeks. Those can be fun. And yes, they build uh, a stronger application by demonstrating an interest in an academic subject that's not essentially forced at school, right? So if those are the ones that you're talking about, great, I'm a fan. Um, Advice for those, I would say, um, many of those courses are not actually run by the universities. They're run by private companies that are just paying the university to have it hosted there. Um, some of those are very, very good. So it's just look at them and make sure that it's going to be something legit, and I'm happy to help you with it. Um, and if you find ones that are actually run by the university and have university faculty teaching them, those can be spectacularly good. So give those a shot. Okay, we have another question. How do you decide what classes or AP classes to take for 10th grade? Short answer is take what you like or what you think you're going to like. Um, that question is loaded because that really comes with um, how many can you take? How many are you going to be successful at taking? And um, and kind of are there enough things that are interested that it's worth it? So in general, again, if you're applying to Harvard, just take as many APs as you want. If you're like the rest of us, you're not going to do that. So then take AP classes and courses that you think are going to make sense. Um, for most high schools, the number of AP courses available to 10th graders is limited. So look at those. If they look really interesting, great. If not, don't. It's horrible to be in a really hard class on a subject that you really don't like. Um, so that's part of the answer. Um, it's also kind of peer. The other part of it is sort of what are your peers doing, right? If there's a really good support system for everybody to take AP biology 10th grade, then great, go ahead. Sometimes the teachers are spectacularly good, and it's great to do that. Also, the opposite, find out, because an AP course with a teacher that is not great is very frustrating. Um, so I'm not sure that that's not a definitive answer because there is no definitive answer, if you will. It depends on the student, depends on the course availability. In general, the more AP courses you take, the stronger your at college application will be. But that doesn't justify being miserable. That's totally not worth that. Okay, I hope that answered the question. If not, please ask me again. Um, and great. I'll give it another minute. If somebody has another, then type it in. Otherwise, I will let you go. Well, a pleasure. Thank you again for everybody joining us. I'm going to end the poll and I will end the webinar. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.